Hi and welcome to Heat and the Horse, Part 1. This is such a big topic that I created 3 parts to this series, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out the other 2. I'm going to start with some facts about heat production in the horse. The second part will talk about then how overheating can damage the horse, and the third part, of course, is how to manage your horse in the heat. So stay tuned for all 3 in the series. Horses are at a great disadvantage in the heat in terms of losing the heat that they create due to their size. So one really important thing is if you're going to exercise your horse in the heat, you really need to know how to take your horse's temperature and be aware of its temperature even before and definitely after exercise. As a horse converts its stored energy into movement energy, only 20 to 30% of that actually facilitates movement. The other 70 to 80% of that energy is actually converted into heat energy. But consider this, horses have about a 50% muscle mass, which is 50% of their total body weight. And not only that, but they use more of their muscles than we do during exercise. All of this means that they carry a heat load of 2 to 3 times more than people when they exercise. The majority of excess heat is lost through the process of evaporation. In fact, about 65% of the heat load is dissipated through this. However, the surface area that they have available to them compared to their body mass, so their surface area to mass ratio, is actually about 50% less than us. So they have less area to dissipate this large heat load. Horses must lose 4 times more heat per unit of surface area than humans. You can see, given all of this information, that the creation of more heat can actually become a real problem for the horse. Luckily, horses are really quite good at sweating and in fact can produce something between 27 and 30 litres of sweat per day. In fact, this number can actually double or triple when they're worked. An exercising horse can lose 10 to 15 litres of sweat per hour. Of course, this starts to introduce other problems such as fluid loss, electrolyte imbalances. So it's really important before you work your horse in hot weather to know, 1, are they dehydrated? 2, have they had a diet that's well balanced in electrolytes? And 3, maybe take their temperature before exercise to check that they're not already slightly elevated, because you want to know that they're at normal temperature before you increase this heat load. This means that on a hot day it's even more important that your horse has the ability to cool itself. Given that most of the cooling is done by evaporation, we really need to be aware that any lack of air movement or also increased humidity will reduce their ability to use the evaporation process effectively. So on especially hot days and particularly humid days, actually exercising your horse and especially floating or transporting your horse should be avoided if you can. It's really good practice to take your horse's temperature, particularly in the warm weather, after it's exercised. The normal horse's temperature can be between 37, 38-ish, but if your horse's temperature goes to 39, 40, it really will benefit from being cooled down as quickly as possible. If your horse is looking fatigued, has a temperature above 40, dehydrated, rapid breathing rate, it's really important to start vigorous cooling. So you will need to move your horse to a very shady area, cool down with very cool water, about 6 degrees, so an ice slurry, and contact your vet, because if they're showing signs of heat stress, it actually can become very dangerous. I'll expand more on managing your horse in the heat in part 3 of this series. However, if you take the temperature and the temperature is 40 or definitely above, the horse looks fatigued, has a rapid breathing rate, is dehydrated, you really need to cool the horse down as vigorously and quickly as possible and contact your vet. Cooling vigorously involves iced water or as cold water as you can get, preferably around 6 degrees Celsius. and move to a shady area as well. Be sure you don't miss part 2 and 3 of this heat series. It's got some great information. To do that, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and keep yourself cool as well.